how news happens fast this offseason. Hi there, and welcome to a very special DLLS Rangers podcast. It's an emergency pod. John Radigan here, Jeff Wilson there. We've got the Queen Cat taking care of us back home as well. And the Rangers have made a blockbuster trade, freeing salary and acquiring, as it turns out, one of their positions of need, a starting pitcher, Marcus Semien to the Mets for Brandon Nimmo. Wow, Jeff, this is amazing.
Yeah, Nimmo is a well-respected outfielder, plays left field, can play center, has played a little right. I don't think he's going to be Adolis Garcia's replacement just yet. I'm not getting that indication. What it does is it actually adds long-term to the Rangers payroll because Nimmo is under contract through 2030 and at $20.5 million a year. So the next 2 years, the Rangers are going to be saving $5.5 million because Semien's due 26, 26, and 20 in the last year of what's left on his contract. So it's not really a huge money save. You know, this appears to be a baseball decision. Certainly salary is part of it. I don't think the Rangers would be committing to a Nimmo-like deal this offseason were there not some salary relief involved. But this is more about Marcus Semien the past 2 seasons and the Rangers' change in offensive philosophy. They like the things that Nimmo can bring. That kind of fit their mold now that they're trying to do the contact, the on base stuff. That's who they think they're getting in Brandon Nimmo. An everyday player. He's a left-handed batter, but he faces everybody, and it raises a lot of questions now. Who's going to play second?
Yeah.
Is Evan Carter okay? And if he is Brandon Nimmo the answer in right field? Right. Things that will sort themselves out here, but man, I think there's some serious questions that we need to get answered, and the Rangers being the Rangers, they won't talk until this thing's official.
They haven't talked yet, and we'll keep an eye for that and an ear for that. And, of course, we're here every day at 1 o'clock to give you all the latest news. So if we don't have another one of these emergency pods, we'll certainly have more information tomorrow. But for now, and as I mentioned off the top, the Rangers save some money, which allows for them to devote more money, right, in this off season when they're trying to trim the budget to the places where they know they need help. That's the bullpen, that's starting pitching. And it does, as Ethan and others have mentioned in the chat, Jeff, it does seem to open the door for something we've heard so much about, which is the possibility of Skip Schumacher and Luis Arraez being reunited. It seems to open the door for Arraez to be here in that now there is a position for him to play.
Yeah, there is. And for everybody who might be joining us for the first time, we've been talking about Arraez, and welcome to the show. But we've been talking about Arraez and wondering where he fits. And we kept saying, well, he played second base for Skip Schumacher, but Rangers have a second baseman. Well, guess what? They don't have a second baseman anymore. So, there is an opening. Now, Arraez is not as good as a defensive player as Marcus Semien. There's no question about that, okay? He's not as fast as Marcus Semien or as heady on the bases, okay? There's that. He doesn't have as much power as Marcus Semien. But what he does is he hits the ball. I mean, he struck out 20 times last season, okay? He had the lowest strikeout rate in the major leagues. And this is where this just seems like the way the Rangers are trending. We've talked about the philosophy. And then you saw at the non-tender deadline Friday night, they got rid of 2 guys who don't fit that philosophy, in Adolis Garcia and Jonah Heim. Now they've added a guy in Nimmo who, they're in their scouting report, or the scouting report that I got on him is, he's a great approach. So he's a tough out. A lot of bat to ball, a lot of contact, too many ground balls. So if there's a run on base, you got to watch out for that. But there's the expectation too that he didn't walk a ton last season. If he can get his walk rate back up, the Rangers really feel good about it. So I don't all the Mets close enough to understand why Brandon Nimmo wasn't available. I know at second base, uh, Jeff McNeil has been injured and probably isn't the answer anymore for the batting champion. Angel Acuna used to be with the Rangers. The last time the Rangers struck a deal with the Mets, it was for Max Scherzer for Luis Angel Acuna. I don't know that he's ready yet, or if they want him to be shortstop. Well, guess what? They have a great shortstop in Lindor. So I guess this does fill a need for a team. For being honest, there are, and we had started gravitating toward this, John. There aren't a lot of teams that can take on a salary like this.
No, not
but
at all.
One of the teams that could is the Mets.
100%.
I didn't really think of the Mets. I was kind of hung up on the Red Sox. But the Mets appear to be willing and able, and they want to buy on Marcus Semien. Maybe they believe still in the upside. Maybe they think he's the missing component defensively. I don't know if they're a good defensive team or not. Maybe they think a Lindor Semien double play combination will, help their pitching staff. Not sure what's going on, but this is what we got. And we, we were wondering, could the Rangers move Semien? Did they need to? And by gum, they have. It wasn't the money grab that we thought it would be.
No.
But it's something. And I think the general consensus is that the Rangers think they got better.
Yeah. And here's the thing, and especially for those of you who are just joining us because you saw this was happening and you knew there was nobody else talking about it right now except us. What we've also talked about, Jeff, on the daily show, 1:00 every day, the DLLS Rangers podcast, we have talked about the opportunity to, and I hate to phrase it this way, but basically to trade a bad contract for a bad contract. So, this is sort of that, right? This is a contract that became bad for Marcus Semien, probably just because he's getting older. Father Time is undefeated. And, like you said, this guy's not, the defensive player that Adolis Garcia was in right field, but it's a guy who can certainly go out there and play right field. And as somebody's pointed out in the chat, he had 25 bombs and 95 RBIs last year. So I think we'd all take that.
Yeah, 100%. The Rangers didn't hit the ball out of the ballpark. They didn't have guys on base. You're getting a veteran guy. There's just a lot of things that this trade gives to the Rangers. It is curious how it was Friday night. The Rangers had a Thanksgiving meal giveaway at their youth center there in West Dallas, and Marcus Semien was there.
Wow.
And he was giving away the turkeys and the stuff and helping folks carry their stuff to the car. And Kennedy and Landry and I from MLB.com, we spoke to him, and he was just talking about his foot's healthy. He's been doing all baseball activities. He's ready to get better. He wants to continue doing what he did toward the end of the last season, because after May last year, he was serviceable. All right, he batted around 280 until his foot was broken. Very inconsistent though, and not a lot of juice in the bat anymore. The defense, fantastic, Gold Glove winner, but he didn't give any indication at the time that he knew anything was going on. So, in fact, we asked him about Adolis, because Adolis had been non-tendered and Jonah, and he's like, man, it's a tough day. It's a sad day. But that's the business of baseball. Well, the business of baseball just bit Marcus Semien in the tail.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, Jeff. You and I had not been able to talk prior to doing this, so I didn't know you were there or you had talked to him. And in a way, it kind of breaks my heart. And that's a little bit how I've felt all weekend. We jumped on to do an emergency podcast Friday afternoon. We anticipated that, Jonah Heim and Adolis Garcia, we even speculated that Josh Sborz and Jacob Webb could all be non-tendered. So none of that was like shockingly surprising to us. But as that news settled in, to my heart, basically, yeah, I felt sad. And this one maybe even hits me a little harder. Marcus, we didn't expect it, at least not so quickly and not like this. So, and then the other side of that is that likely, ultimately, this is good for the Rangers. Now, if Marcus Semien finds that offensive stroke he had in Toronto somehow, going to rue the day. But the results indicate that ship has sailed for Marcus, as he is, mid-30s now.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 straight years. And really, if you want to throw in the 2023 playoffs, you can, minus the last 2 games. Something has happened. And, he wasn't able to recapture that form. He was 3rd in the American League AL MVP voting. All right. That's really good. Would have been 2nd if not for a guy named Shohei Ohtani, because Seager was 2nd and Seager would have won it. But I guess my point is that the Rangers obviously feel like they're not getting value from Semien anymore.
Yeah,
they're getting good defensive play, but they need the total package at $25 million. And if they can't rely on it, then they need to do what they did. And in saving some money here, $5.5 million. Hey, that's what they paid Chris Martin last year. All right. $5.5 million. Maybe that helps them get back Sean Armstrong. Give him 2 and 11. Maybe $5.5 million. Makes it a lot easier to afford Luis Arraez. So there's a lot that can come from this trade. And then again, the questions: what does the outfield look like? Okay. You feel like you have your everyday left fielder in Wyatt Langford. Okay, well, Nimmo's primary position of late has been left field, where he's above average. He's a good left fielder. He can play center field, sure. But hey, what about Evan Carter, who is a left-handed hitting center fielder, who does not play against left-handers? Brandon Nimmo does. Okay, can Brandon Nimmo or can Wyatt Langford move to right field? These are all things that need to be answered. And then it makes you wonder, what do the Rangers have next?
Well, it does. And I go back to the GM meetings in Las Vegas a week and a half or so ago, Jeff, when I talked to Chris Young, and he said, one of the things we'll be looking for will be somebody who can platoon for us in right field and center field. That if that were the case, maybe that gives Brandon Nimmo more opportunity to play as well. So, maybe that satisfies this sort of need that CY was talking about. And obviously, as we mentioned, opens a door at second base to for the Rangers to try and acquire. It's not a given that they'd be able to get Luis Arraez, but given his relationship with Skip Schumacher, it seems like that's certainly a decent possibility.
Yeah, and we do need to recognize that the Rangers are trying to save money, and got to at least throw out the internal candidates, right? I guess you would start with Josh Smith,
sure,
who has had everyday at bats basically for the last 2 seasons. With no place to play. He's ended up playing a lot of shortstop because of what's happened to Corey Seager. As you've mentioned, he's worn out in the second half the last couple of years. I know he drew a lot of fans' ire because he was batting leadoff late in the season while mired in a slump. Cody Freeman, who was a little provided a spark, had a great AAA season, provided a spark. You look at the total numbers; it's a 600 OPS, his first salvo in the big leagues. You think it'll get better. He's mostly been a third baseman. He can play second, of course. Ezekiel Duran can play the heck out of second. So there's probably the top 3 internal candidates. Do any of those guys light your fire?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, no,
Yeah.
again, we feel like, to me, out of the ones you just mentioned, Josh Smith probably lights my fire the most because of his consistency at the plate when he has had consistent playing time. That said, we've also noticed that when Josh plays more, it feels like the last couple of years there has been a fade, a downturn, at least not necessarily the quote unquote second half, but maybe after the All-Star break in most cases. So, it's there is a lot to be decided, but certainly when you're in a budget conscious state, that's certainly something that you'll look at is what you have internally. It's probably somewhat telling that Ezekiel Duran was tendered a contract, right? So that now the Rangers have multiple guys in Freeman and Smith and Duran who can play multiple positions. The talk this weekend has been a lot about Zeke maybe getting some, being out there in right field a lot. And we've seen him out there, and he's got a great arm. He's got, an Adolis like cannon, but maybe now there will be more of a need to keep him in the infield.
Yeah, and just a couple thoughts if we're, everybody's hung up on Arise and the connection with Skip Schumacher, and it makes a lot of sense. Arise, though, said at the end of the season he 100% wants to be back with the Padres. So there are no guarantees in Major League free agency. So let's kind of cushion those Arise thoughts and all of that. So next, how about this guy, Ha-Sung Kim, the Korean player who was traded from the Rays to the Braves at the end of the season and opted out of his contract. Is that something the Rangers need to consider? He played a lot of second base, won a Gold Glove, I believe, with the Padres. So maybe that's another option. A guy who, most international players who have been middle infielders are high contact, low strikeout guys. That's not necessarily the case with Kim. Just a cursory glance at his statistics. He had some big strikeout years. 24 in 470 plate appearances. He struck out 77 times. So you can stomach that, but he only batted .233. So I don't know if you're getting a great player in him. But it's somebody we need to at least keep an eyeball on. And then I guess the big one out there would be a trade for Ketel Marte. Sorry, I didn't mean to butcher the name there. The Rangers saw firsthand how good that cat is. I mean, he tore them up in August, and it looks like the Diamondbacks are willing to trade him, or at least that's kind of what the reports have been. You'd probably have to knock them over, but consider, of course, the Kelly trade was with the Diamondbacks. So they understand the Rangers farm system and have scouted it heavily and have 3 arms from it via that Merrill Kelly trade. So maybe, hey, let's swing for the fences here while we're at it.
Why not?
And see if something comes out of it that way.
Yeah, and by the way, No Mama, we appreciate the super chat. No Mama, a Padres fan, who says that Luis Arraez is overrated. So there it is right there. Thank you, No Mama, for that. And look, everybody has their opinion about everybody. We do know this. The guy doesn't strike out. And that's one of the things that the Rangers love about him and about what Skip Schumacher loves about him. And it's a part of the new philosophy going forward for the Rangers. But they continue to be extremely active, perhaps as active as any team thus far during the offseason in Major League Baseball, from naming a new manager a couple of days after the season to non-tendering 3 different World Series heroes to then just a couple of days later making a blockbuster trade. There's no other way to term this than blockbuster. And the Rangers have traded another hero from the 2023 World Series, Marcus Semien, to the New York Mets for outfielder Brandon Nimmo. Nimmo will have opportunity to play because of one of those aforementioned moves, and that was non-tendering Adolis Garcia. that happened on Friday. So a full off season of activity thus far. It has been great. It has given us so much to talk about. We would ask you to like us and subscribe to us and realize that we are here every single day. And tomorrow, Jeff, I guess hopefully we will be talking about the Rangers' reaction to this.
Yeah, I hope so, because whenever money is involved, the commissioner's office has to sign off on it, and I don't know if they're working right now on a Sunday night. But I'll say this: the trade, like the moves with Garcia, Heim, and Josh Sborz, the non-tenders. It's a "what have you done for me lately" business, and Marcus Semien hasn't done enough for the Rangers on the field. But now this trade creates a lot of questions. How are you going to fill in for Marcus Semien? Is it going to be Luis Arraez? Is it an eternal candidate? And then with Brandon Nimmo, where is he? Is he going to be your right fielder? Are you going to move Wyatt Langford to right? Is Evan Carter okay? Is his back that much of a concern that you wanted to go get somebody who could play center field every day if needed? Whatever the case, hopefully a conference call or an in-person press conference, a good old-fashioned press conference, are soon in the offing, because Chris Young and Ross Fenstermaker have some questions that need to be answered, and I'm looking forward to hearing them. But the Rangers appear to be moving forward after two lousy seasons offensively. They're leaving their heartstrings, hold on some heartstrings, but this is business, and the Rangers apparently mean business about being better in 26.
Yep. And we will be back tomorrow at 1:00. If not before, I don't know, probably not until tomorrow at 1:00. We are there every day to talk about the Texas Rangers, the offseason, and what they are doing, what they continue to do, and what they plan to do. So we thank you for finding us during this emergency podcast to address this breaking baseball Texas Rangers news. And we'll see you again tomorrow on the 1:00 edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast.